Hi everyone, it's Chef Yettis here. Today I will be speaking to you about finding staff at your restaurant or your home food business from home, whichever way you decide to put it. So, get your pen and paper ready because I'll be dishing out a lot of advice. As always, I'm always giving out good advice, I believe, from my previous video on how to start a food business from home. I've gotten so many comments on that, and I kind of gathered that a lot of people are in the dark with regards to how to go about running a food business. So you could always run your food business from home, like I've mentioned in my previous video. If you don't know what my previous video is, I will tag it in here somewhere on YouTube. And of course, if you're not listening to this on YouTube, if you listen to this on podcast, via Spotify or Apple Music or whichever options you are on, by all means search for me on YouTube, Yettis Kitchen, which is Yettis Kitchen, and that's the name. Yettis Kitchen is everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Clubhouse, anywhere, just Yettis Kitchen. So but if you obviously want to know what I'm talking about in terms of a previous video that tells you how to run a restaurant business from home or from the high street in the UK, by all means go to my YouTube channel and you'd see that I'll tag the video right here in this segment. So get things started. How do you go about finding staff in your restaurant, and how do you go about finding staff for your food business? It doesn't matter if you're working from home. I think I've seen some successful food businesses run from home, and there's this myth around, I could do it by myself, or I'm struggling to invite somebody else who I don't know into my own personal space. I've got children. I don't want to have delivery drivers. I don't want to have delivery drivers just coming into my home, especially if you're going to be offering a delivery service. And there's so many myths around how to go about it. But personally, I think there's many ways to work around it without losing your privacy. So first things first, I would suggest, if you're looking for staff, the two options I use and have successfully used on a cheap budget. And by the way, the advice I'm going to be giving you on this podcast or this audio stream is via the cheap options, because I'm not going to say I'm a cheapskate, but life's taught me how to get things done on the cheap. By all means, if you have money, you could always get people to do this for you, but there's quite a lot of people in the hospitality business that struggle with money, or are self-funded in terms of making their business work. So if that's you, then this is the podcast or the audio stream for you. Good. So first things first, the websites I advertise for staff are Gumtree and Facebook. By the way, this is not a paid ad. I've not been paid to say this. I'm just telling you from my experience. I'm a restaurant owner I own Yettis Kitchen in Manchester, UK, and we've been in operation since 2018 in Manchester. But initially, I started running my food business from home in Milton Keynes all the way back in 2013. So you could say approximately 7-8 years now we've been in operation. From home initially in 2013, and now a physical restaurant in Manchester for the last 3 years. So this podcast is going to be giving you bits and pieces of the experiences I've had and how I overcame them, right? Cool. So here we go. So Gumtree and Facebook, they are the two platforms that I advertise on and have successfully done so on the cheap. Initially, I started advertising on Gumtree, and suddenly they changed their policies, and now you have to pay for your ads. They now have, I think it's Gumtree ads. Gumtree jobs. So now, initially you could advertise on there for free, but now you can't do it. But if you really think about it, they charge you about £40 on average, as at the time of this recording, which is the 6th of May 2021. As at the time of this recording, they charge you approximately £40 for your advert, and I think the advert lasts about 7 days or 2 weeks. I can't remember now because I've not done it in a while, in a long while with them. They charge about £40, and to the best of my understanding, that's the cheapest in the industry if you compare them to the likes of other job boards such as LinkedIn or JobServe or Indeed. If you compare the prices they charge, all the other job boards that I just mentioned, they charge an average £250 for 7 days ads, and that doesn't mean you're going to get a good CV through your email. So, be careful about prices that skyrocket, and then at the end of the 7 days or 14 days, you actually never got to hire anyone, and then you lost your money. So. Or even if you did get to hire somebody, that's no guarantee that you would have fun with that hire. You might lose that hire because they didn't enjoy working for you, or you didn't enjoy having them on board. So that's still £150 or £250 in the bin. So keep it low, because you just never know. With staff, they come, they go. And sometimes you have control over how they come and how they go, and sometimes you really don't. You could treat them the best, and they literally don't see themselves as a right fit for your business. So Gumtree, I've covered that. So the next option is Facebook. Quite a lot of people don't know that Facebook offers adverts for jobs, and at the moment, at the point of this recording, Facebook allows you to advertise for free for jobs. I'm sure they'll change that very soon. Actually, what am I saying? They have actually changed it. Initially, when I started advertising with Facebook jobs, they allowed you to post a job, and they allowed you to share it to multiple groups of choice, meaning that once you posted the job, you can, whatever groups you're part of on your personal profile, you could then post that job to all the groups. So what I do on my personal profile of Yettis Kitchen is, on my personal profile as Yeti to buy, I am a part of multiple groups. For example, chefs in Manchester, hospitality jobs in Manchester, staff in hospitality jobs, staff for restaurant jobs. So these are different Facebook groups. So literally, whatever area of the UK you're in, or whatever area of the world you're in, there's always a Facebook group that caters to finding jobs for people in whatever sector. So what I typically do is I join those groups, even though I'm not trying to find a job, but I know that I could in future post to that group to let people know that I have jobs for them. So you need to think as a recruiter, and you need to think as a job seeker when you're finding staff. So join those groups. Jobs in Manchester, for example, I joined a group called Jobs in Manchester. I joined groups jobs jobs for chefs, stuff like that. Just different keywords. Just put it into Facebook to find local groups in your local area. Join them on your personal profile, and then when you then go to your professional profile, which is your business profile on Facebook, you could then post a job on your business profile first. So for example, I posted a job on Yettis Kitchen, and then when you're done with posting that job, you can then share that post on your business profile to the personal groups that you've joined on your personal profile, because both of them are linked. What I have found is that was possible before, meaning that immediately you post a job on your business profile, you could just click on the share button and select what groups you wanted to share that same job with. I think there was a maximum of 5 groups you could select. You couldn't select more than 5 groups, but that was before in 2020. You could do that. Now in 2021, Facebook has changed that policy. I guess they just want to make sure that you boost your post. They want to make sure you boost your job post by paying them. So what they've done is they don't allow you to share the groups directly from your business page. So now the option you have is to get the link from your business page, and then you go to whatever groups that you're a part of, go into groups and paste it on the wall of that group directly. That's another way to go about it. So as far as I know, it's currently free to do that, and I would say that has been my most successful hire process in Yettis Kitchen so far. In terms of it's free, there's no barrier to entry. I have gotten my way around it in terms of I've had some great people. I found some great people to hire. I still have staff that work with me 1 year later that I've hired from Facebook directly. And I think it's a great place to find a mix of people who can work for your business. Okay, so one thing I must mention, that when you're putting up your ad on Facebook or whatever platform, you should include questions in your advert as much as possible. So the typical questions I would ask is, how far do you live from the Yettis kitchen postcode? And then obviously I'll write the postcode in the ad. And that person, so before that person can apply for the job, they need to answer these questions that I've put in the advert. The reason why I do this is a lot of people literally just go to job boards because as you can imagine, they've probably been applying for 100 or 200 jobs per day. They don't have the time to read through job descriptions. So I put in questions so that they can pause before they click on apply, because sometimes you could bulk apply. Really, you could select like 10 jobs at a time, upload your CV and apply to all 10 jobs at the same time without actually reading the job ad. So in other words, when I get your CV, I would have sat down there for the next 5 minutes reading through your CV, call you for an interview or whatever else, and then you now go, oh, I didn't know that's what you're paying, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. So you've wasted my time and you've wasted your time. So what I do is I include questions. I'm not asking questions such as there's some job boards where I see some recruiters putting in questions like, oh, in 300 words, describe why you want to work for this company. I'm not one of those that would respond to that kind of job ad, because the amount of times I've actually filled in that kind of information, and then you realize that they end up hiring somebody internally and they never went for anyone that actually applied online. So it's always depressing when recruiters do that. But no, I'm not one of those that would ask you to write an essay and tell me why you want my job. So include questions in your ad that are short, sweet, and direct, and that way you get to understand the person applying for your job. Okay, so kind of questions I put in is include your phone number. I always ask for a phone number from the people applying, and the reason I normally ask for phone number is I have found that many people apply on Facebook, and then when you respond to them on Facebook to say, hi, you've applied for the role of a chef at Yettis Kitchen, can you confirm when you're available for a telephone interview? I'll say 80% of them don't respond. And I'm talking about within 5 minutes of actually applying for a job, I respond very quickly because I'm hoping they're still online on Facebook. But literally I found that 80% of them don't respond. That could be due to a few reasons, because one, I'm not on their friends list. So my messages are probably going in a different folder, and Facebook is not alerting them that somebody has sent them a message. Because let's remember, when you respond to somebody's job response, if I could call it that, when you respond to somebody's job response by sending them a message back, it comes up to them as a Facebook inbox message. So as you can imagine, because I'm not a friend of theirs, inbox messages would only get alerts from friends that you are with on Facebook. And because I'm not on your friends list as Yettis Kitchen, it goes in the other inbox. And obviously they don't get alerted that somebody sent them a message. And it just goes in a black hole, really, and the person never responds. So it will be totally pointless for you to put up a Facebook ad for a job and you don't include a question asking for the person's phone number. So there it goes. So it may be sure to include questions such as the distance of the person to where you want them working, because some people just apply. They don't actually check for the distance of Yettis Kitchen to where they live. I've had somebody who was such a good fit. Her CV was amazing, and I was just like, oh my god, I want this person working for Yettis Kitchen. And by the time I called her, she lived an hour away from my job, and she also felt bad because she also did not check for and she actually wrote a beautiful message in terms of, I'm really interested in your job, I'd love to work for your company. I really liked what the personal touch she put in her application, but she was just too far from the restaurant. So don't waste the person's time and don't waste your time. So include it and say how many minutes, or you just ask her, please provide your postcode If the person provides your postcode, you do the search, because sometimes some people don't even know. Even if you give them a postcode, I've actually had somebody who I provided the postcode in a job ad saying, how far do you live from this postcode, M300QN? How far do you live from this postcode? And the person responded to say, I don't know. So that already tells you that they can't be bothered to use Google, and they can't be bothered to think outside of the box. And of course, that's not the kind of person you want to employ. So there goes. So ask for a phone number, and I must give you this other tip. Phone interviews are a time saver. I can't say that enough. They're a time saver over physical interviews. The number of times, I can't say this enough, and it's so painful. The number of times I've booked physical interviews and 90% of the time people didn't turn up for physical interviews. And then I'm not talking about physical interviews where I just emailed them to say, hi, you've got an interview confirmed for next Monday at 3 p.m. And then they responded to say, no worries, I'll see you there. No, I'm not even talking about that. And then they don't turn up. Not even that. I'm talking about physical interviews where I've physically spoken to the person over a Facebook message. Like I mentioned, I've spoken to the person over a Facebook message. The person has confirmed. I said, what day are you available? The person told me a date, and then I book a time for that time. And then I'm sat down there in the restaurant, and they literally don't turn up. Or I've had instances. I've had another person who literally called me. Oh, hi, Yettis Kitchen. Obviously saw the ad online, but he was that desperate that he wanted to call in response to the ad rather than respond by Facebook. Oh, hi, I saw your job ad. I'm really interested. Blah, blah, blah. I can do any time. I can do any day, please. I'm really looking for a job. I'm like, yeah, okay. When are you free? Oh, I can come now. I'm like, okay, do me a favor. Come in tomorrow. Because sometimes I do that on purpose. I tell them to come in the next day to see if they really are desperate for a job, in terms of, would you actually wait till tomorrow, or it's just a need for now, which is once you get the job now, tomorrow you might get another job offer, and you're off with that job offer instead of my job offer. You know, some people are so desperate that they'll take up anything, and you're no longer a priority as a business owner. So yeah. So I then said, come in the next day, but this guy sounded so desperate that I was sure, out of all my experience in restauranting and food business, I was sure he would turn up. And guess what? As I speak to you, he never turned up and never called to say why he's not coming. But I was so sure, the way he sounded so desperate. So trust me, phone interviews would save you time over physical interviews. Don't bother booking physical interviews, because there's also been times where I've had people say, oh, I really want the job, and then I invite them for a physical interview and they come in. Okay, did you read the job description? Yes. It's just a waste of time, really. And then they tell me they're all available, they're ready. But I think it's also intimidating for them as well, because when they come in for physical interview, they are tempted to say yes to a lot of things, which is, oh, are you happy with the job description? Is there any part of it that you think you won't be able to do? Are you happy to, as a chef, to wash up after yourself rather than you expecting a kitchen porter? Or if you need a kitchen porter, can you let me know at this point in the interview so I understand your preferred way of working? And they tell you, no, it's fine. I'm happy to even do the washing up. I'm a chef, so when obviously I'm not cooking, I'll do the washing up and put the stuff in the dishwasher. And then after that interview, okay, when are you ready to start? I'm happy to start tomorrow. And then the next day you're there waiting for them to turn up, and then they don't turn up. And what I found is, I think people just get shy. Because then I found that if I ask that same question over the phone, people are more honest with me and tell me, no, actually, I'll prefer a kitchen porter, because I don't think that's part of my job as a chef to sort out the dishes. Versus physical interviews where they're like, yeah, I'll do anything for the job, and then they don't turn up for the actual job, or when they do turn up for the actual job, they don't like the fact that the restaurant is quiet at certain times. They want a restaurant that's constantly busy, so that there's not a lot of focus on them. I don't know if you know what I mean in terms of if you're working somewhere like McDonald's. Well, I wouldn't know. I've worked in McDonald's before, so. But I'm just saying in terms of if there's like 20, 50 members of staff on ground, you have a chance to go out for a smoke. You have a chance to go to the toilet and spend 30 minutes fiddling on your phone under the pretense that you're just going to use the loo, and then obviously somebody else is doing your job for you in the meantime. But if you're working in a restaurant, which is a very small, close-knit restaurant where there's no other member of staff, you're in a place where your loo breaks are being monitored, your smoking breaks are being monitored, and that's a lot of pressure on one person, because it's either they're a hard worker or they don't like working hard. And if either they're a hard worker and they don't like or they don't like working hard, and they hope that they don't have to do much. So obviously when they start the job and they realize that there's a lot of work to be done and there's a lot of focus on them when they leave and when they return, they don't like that amount of scrutiny, so they obviously don't turn up the following day or after a week of working. So I would suggest phone interviews would solve would help you with a lot of time wasting. There's been once I called somebody and I said to the person, okay, well, during the quiet period, since you're working on the front of house, during the quiet periods, are you happy to sort out the chairs and the tables, just clean up the tables in front of house rather than just sitting at the bar? And the person said no, they don't think that's a part of the job. They just want to stay behind the bar, and they don't think they should be cleaning up the tables whilst waiting for customers. So what I'm trying to say here is I was glad that the person was honest with me, but I think it would have been a waste of my time if I actually had to sit down for that and he had to leave his house to come and tell me that. So immediately I knew it wasn't the right fit, and he also knew that I wasn't the right fit for him as an employer. So that saved us 5 minutes, and what I say, that saved us an hour, because he would have come down and wasted his time driving just for an interview that he wasn't the right fit for. So I would suggest phone interviews first, and I mean lengthy ones. Take your time, 30 minutes. Zoom, use Skype, save yourself the time, and that way you're not in a place where you have to get dressed up and turn up for a physical interview and then the person is not the one you're looking for. So yes, so ask for a phone number, ask for how many years experience have you got. Those are the kind of things you should put in your advert. How many years experience have you got? What's the distance to the area that you obviously have your job advertised? What else? I think that's it. Those are the kind of things I'd normally put in an advert. I always put in there, have you read the job description? And you will be surprised. Some people actually answer no. I always put it in my Facebook job ads. I always write in there, have you read the job description? And the person says no. And I just immediately delete the application, because if you can't be bothered to read the job description, I can't be bothered to read your CV or read your application either, But yeah, I've got like 5% of responses have said no, they've not read the job description, they just want to apply. Of course, if you can't be bothered to read the job description, then you obviously can't be bothered to work for my company. I'm sorry. Okay, so there goes. Of course, they could always say yes, they've read the job description, but then when I obviously do call them for the phone interview to say, have you read the job description that says it's 5 days a week, it's only 3 hours a day, it's paying £8.90 an hour, are you comfortable with that? The person will be like, oh, only 3 hours a day? No, I thought it was going to be 8 hours a day. I thought it was a full-time role. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yeah, okay, you didn't read it, so waste of my time. And then I dropped the phone. But like I said, that was just 3 minutes of my time versus having you come down, because having you come down and then we get to the physical interview and then I'm like, okay, did you get to read the job description? And then you ask them, have you got any questions for me as an employer? And they say, can you just confirm what hours is it and what day of the week would I be required to work? And you're looking at them like, this was actually in the job description, why are you asking me this at the physical interview? So save yourself time, guys. Save yourself time. Okay. One thing to also bear in mind is I prefer to pay monthly over weekly, and I'll tell you why. People tend to stay at a job a lot more if they're paid monthly versus if they're paid weekly. I've found that the staff that I paid weekly have had a higher turnover of staff that have been paid weekly versus staff that have been paid monthly. Nothing to do with how Yettis Kitchen is run. It's just when people are paid weekly, they have a weekly mindset towards your business. Versus if it's a monthly, they have a long-term view of your business. I'll tell you why. So if somebody starts in the first week, and in the first week of the job, they're totally hating the job, which is quite possible. I don't remember any new job that I've ever started that I've loved it in the first week. Every time you start a new job, the first week is always a bit hard because you're getting out of bed, you're getting into traffic, you're getting to know new people, you're having to please and smile a lot. People are coming over to your desk to ask you, oh, are you okay? Do you want a cup of tea? Do you want this? So it's a lot of pussyfooting, that's the word. It's a lot of people pleasing in the first week. And if you're in a place where by the end of that week you're going to be getting paid, you could get paid and then you're off to go pay your rent that you owe, and then you're hoping to find another job. But if you're in a place where you've turned up for a whole week and you're not going to be getting paid for your whole week, most people would have to wait till the end of the month to not turn up any longer, because they've spent money for a whole week. They've bought petrol, they've bought lunch, they've bought bus passes, they bought train passes for a whole week. They've lost approximately £100, £200 in making their way to your business, to then be in a place where they're not going to turn up. How are they going to get that money back for the train passes they bought, for the petrol they've spent? How are they going to get that money back? They would have to stay for the month, even though they don't like the job, even though they're not really feeling the vibe of the job. They would have to stay till the end of the month so that they could get paid to recoup on the money they've spent for attending to your business. And then at the end of the month, when you do pay them, they then have a choice to say, oh, okay, this isn't really working for me, I'm sorry, I can't do this, and they don't turn up. But that also gives you time as an employer to, it's been a month, you can tell if this person might stay, if this person might not stay. Also puts you in a place where within that month you can also advertise. Obviously, in most instances, they might not tell you that they're planning to leave, but you'd kind of get the vibe that this person is actually looking good and looking like a good fit. But so you should be in a place where you're vigilant and offer monthly payments. Some people prefer weekly, and sometimes I do agree to weekly payment. But with people that I offer weekly payment, I have it in the back of my mind that they could leave anytime, because if you're wanting weekly payments, you're not thinking long term at all. You're not thinking long term in terms of that business. But if you're thinking monthly payments, you probably are thinking, okay, I can see myself in this job for quite a while. So I think it's just a mentality thing. And I think as an employer, I found that people that I pay monthly tend to work a lot longer for the business than people that I pay weekly. Obviously, there's exceptions to those statistics that I found, but that's just what I found. So contracts of employment, I usually use Rocket Lawyer. That I'll show you. Rocket Lawyer, if I don't get to show you how that's spelled, it's ROCKET and lawyer. Yeah, Rocket Lawyer. I usually, for contracts of employment and drafting letters of employment, I use Rocket Lawyer. I think it's a free registration. You register for free, and you can use their agreement letters. For payment terms, in terms of how much you should pay your staff, what you should pay your staff, I usually visit the gov.uk website. That's if you're in the UK. I usually visit the gov.uk website. It's not called the gov, it's just gov.uk, gov.uk website, for you to understand what you should pay staff. Of course, you can always pay above minimum wage, but to know what you should do legally in terms of payments, I normally visit the website to understand what the current rate is. There's also options for apprenticeships. It's very good because apparently, as I speak, you could get up to £3,000 to £5,000 from the government for each apprentice that you hire. So I think for people that are working from home as a food business, I think this is a very good option because your costs are going to be low as a business in terms of you are not paying a huge fee for your business premises. So apprentices, if you obviously get them for £3,000 to £5,000, that could actually pay your staff's salary. And obviously if that pays for your staff's salary, that puts you in a place where literally you've got somebody working for you for free because the government's paying the person's salary. So why not go for apprentices? But obviously apprentices are not fully qualified. So that's obviously the disclaimer I need to put out there. They're not fully qualified, meaning that you need to train them. But think about it, if you even employ a normal member of staff who's not an apprentice, you need to train them anyway. So why not just get somebody that you need to train and you get paid for training the person as an employer? So I think that's a really good thing that's offered by the government. But one thing I must mention is the £3,000 or £5,000 as at the point of this recording is given to you in half, which is they'll give you an initial 1,500 within the first 3 months of the person working for you. So it's not in advance of the person working. So for the first 3 months, you might need to pay the person's salary, and then before month 3 the government would pay you 1,500, and then before the end of the year the person must stay with you for the year apparently. Before the end of the year they would then give you the other half of the money. So really and truly, the last time I spoke to a college that obviously would offer you the apprentices, by the time I spoke to the college, they said they would ideally prefer full-time contracts for the apprentices. They would prefer full-time contracts rather than part-time contracts. But let's remember, it's going to be a lot of training for the person. So you need a full-time staff to train the person who's an apprentice. So you need to consider all those things. But like I said, it's £3,000, £5,000 on the table for a member of staff versus... And then obviously apprentices, you normally pay them almost half of what the minimum wage is. So typically minimum wage at the moment is about £8.90. An apprentice is normally being paid £4.30. So that makes it more affordable to hire an apprentice versus hiring somebody who needs to be given full minimum wage. Typically apprentices are between the age of 16 to 19. So you need to put that in mind. Obviously if a person is 16 to 19, the person is just getting to know about life. The person might not turn up at work as often. The person might not be prompt and on time and all that stuff that comes with being a teenager. So you need to be aware of the headache and the ups and downs that you might face from hiring somebody who's just starting their life versus somebody who already has bills to pay and needs your job versus somebody who's still with mommy and is having a migraine and that's why he can't turn up. That's why he or she can't turn up to work. So yeah, have that in the back of your mind. They come in cheap at £4.30 at the moment as an apprentice. Apart from that, the government helps you out with some payment towards your business to help you out with hiring an apprentice. But yeah, and then obviously to find out more about apprentices, you obviously go to gov.uk again for apprentice. If you want to sign up for one, just go to their website and you'll be able to sign up to say you want to hire an apprentice, and the apprenticeship team would be in touch with you to explain the process, and they'll give you all the information you need. They'll hold you by the hand because they know that it's a very brave thing to hire an apprentice. So they make it super easy and they contact you, speak with you, they give you the form, they call you and everything. That's totally different to hiring staff on your own. So the next thing is, in terms of staff, there's always the conundrum, which is uniform or no uniform. I'm very much a uniform person in terms of you come in and everybody looks the same and all of that. But if you're obviously working from home in terms of food business, or you're just a startup business, you want to reduce costs by not giving out uniforms to people that might not turn up the next day. So I've had instances where you give somebody a uniform and after 1 week they don't turn up, and there goes your uniform that you spent money on buying. And of course, some employers actually contact you to say, okay, we realize you're no longer coming up for the job. Can you return the uniform that we gave you? And I just think that's petty. So on that note, I'll ask that you go for neutral colors such as black or gray, and then black or gray top, and then typical jeans at the bottom, and then black shoes. That could be trainers, that could be work shoes, whatever the person wants to wear. Just go for neutral colors that people typically have in their wardrobe, and that saves you in your uniform, and that way everybody looks the same, but everybody's not wearing an actual uniform. Do you see what I mean? So if you think about the Nando's principle, they wear jeans at the bottom, they wear whatever shoes they want to wear on their feet, but I think the shoes have to be a dark color in terms of black. So you can wear trainers if you wish, it's not a problem. But then the top, they provide you with a top. In terms of tops, I normally use Harvey's uniforms. I would tag them in the link in the description. I normally use them for uniforms for Yettis Kitchen, and they're pretty reasonably priced. Most hoodies are about £10, and I think that's reasonably priced. Of course, you can always order more in bulk from other companies, but they do nice embroidery on the uniforms, and the material's really good. And then one other thing I must mention is I found that people that are on benefits tend to seek termination. In terms of I've had a history with people who, if you ask them what did you do before you applied for my job, their answer is usually, oh, I've not had a job in 5 years, or I've not had a job in 8 years, I've never worked before in my life. So how did you survive? I've been on benefits. One thing I have found is people actually apply to jobs because they want to get fired. They want to get fired so that they can then provide the termination letter to job seekers allowance, or to provide the termination letter to the benefits department of the UK to prove that they've been fired again, and that means that the benefits department needs to keep paying them money to stay at home. So beware of people that apply to your job and who have never worked. And I mean never worked in terms of it's out of choice. There's a difference between never worked before because you didn't have a choice, because nobody wanted to employ you. Everybody's always looking for experience. That's perfectly fine. You can employ those kind of people. But there's a certain niche of people in the UK who have always been on benefits all their life, and they plan to stay on benefits all their life. And they actually apply to jobs and hope to get the jobs. They turn up for the interview on time. They give you all the right answers. And the minute they start the job, they act very badly so that you can fire them. And then obviously you have to provide them a letter of termination. And when you provide them a letter of termination, they then take that back to the job seekers to be able to claim job seekers allowance, or claim whatever they need to claim benefit wise to prove that nobody wants to keep them in the job. And then they get benefits to stay at home, and you're at a loss because you've trained that person for however long, and the person's aim was actually to get fired, not to stay in your job. So you're at a loss because you've spent money on uniforms, training, whatever else, and to them it's just a game. I'll give you an example. I had a lady who worked for Yettis Kitchen as well. I asked her, she's 25, she said at the interview. I asked her, so what have you been doing before now? She said she's never worked. She's in the age of 18, she's never worked. Okay, well, what was your last job? Oh, it was 8 years ago. And she was working in a call center. Okay, you're working in a call center, and how long did that last for? She said it lasted 3 months. Okay, so why did they terminate your contract? Oh, because they were downgrading or whatever. So they let go of her. I said, okay, no worries. And by the time I found out whatever I wanted to find out, she's been on benefits ever since, which is not a bad thing. At the end of the day, the people that are on benefits for whatever valid reasons. But one thing is, after a month of investing in her, training her, she actually got on with the job very well. In the end, she sent me a text on a certain day to say she can no longer work because her boyfriend broke up with her. So that kind of gave me a bit of context as to why she's never worked before, because if the reason why you can't come to a job, she didn't say she can't come to the job that day because her boyfriend broke up with her, then obviously I would understand that. that, okay, you need a day off because you're obviously heartbroken, but she couldn't attend the job any longer because her boyfriend broke up with her. Okay, so that was that. And then I've had other staff who wanted to be paid cash in hand. And obviously, if they want to be paid cash in hand, you have to question, why do they want to get paid cash in hand? Is it because they're on benefits and they don't want to declare that they have another means of income? So you need to think about why people ask for the things they ask for. And obviously with this lady in question, there was another lady, obviously this one I'm talking about, that wanted cash in hand. The reason why she wanted cash in hand, I don't know till now. But this lady would literally come in every day. I employed her as a member of staff behind the bar. She was a front of house staff. I employed her, and she would literally, after 2 weeks of coming into work, she said to me that, "Oh, do you mind if I have my lager behind the bar whilst waiting for staff, or whilst waiting for customers, whilst waiting for customers to attend?" I'm like, yeah, sure. But like I said, some things you just have to do. I'm not going to say have to do. Some things you do because you really want to have staff. Staff is very important as a restaurant. It's not really that important if you're working from home as a food business, but that's one of the things I had to compromise on, which is, okay, you seem pretty good. You seem pretty good with the customers, so go on. Have your lager behind the bar whilst you're waiting for customers. So literally, whilst waiting for customers, she'll be behind the bar sipping on her beer whilst waiting for customers. Obviously, that's not professional. You can't be drinking alcohol on the premises whilst waiting for customers to arrive. So she was drinking her beer. She'd go out for a smoke. She'll come back again, have a beer. So literally, she was having the time of her life, really. Obviously, so that kind of ended badly. Obviously, she doesn't work for us anymore. And like I said, she was very interested in everything else but the business. So look out for those who just want to get a letter of termination from you. Obviously, the only way you can know them is by hiring them or by the interview process to know why they've been let go in their previous job. Okay, so you might also want to focus on hiring multi-skilled staff as well versus low-skilled staff. But I don't know, really. I think some staff that can be low-skilled can always be trained and then they become multi-skilled. I found that a lot of times, but sometimes once they get multi-skilled, they get too big for the boots in terms of they want better pay, they want this, they want that, because now obviously they understand that they now have more skills and they don't want to remain faithful to you who trained them. So watch out for those multi-skilled staff versus low-skilled staff. By all means, make a choice and understand the advantages and disadvantages, but it doesn't matter. Just do what's best for your business. And then lastly to cap it up, for catering, if you're obviously in the food business and you're going to be catering to events, I would say register on the website Add to Event. That's a website that I find very useful, Add to Event. So if you're looking for catering staff in terms of waiters or porters at events when you're obviously doing a wedding, because sometimes I've had questions from people that do food business from home and they reject catering jobs because they don't have the staff for it, and I'm like, that's a big revenue source right there. So why not just hire staff for the day, and when you're done with that catering event for the day, you're back at home, rather than you turn down that job and because you just want a one-man band. So on the website Add to Event, you can advertise to say, I need 20 waiters on this given day, and people that offer waiters professionally would obviously reply to you and give you a quote on how much they'll charge you for waiters, and obviously you pass that quote on to your customer who wants food on their wedding. And of course, obviously, you're not going to pass on the details of the waiter company, because obviously your wedding host or whoever's hosting the wedding can obviously pass on the business to them instead of coming through you. So as a business, you can always make sure that you're the middleman and you give them the cost of hiring waiters, but you don't give them the direct access to the company you use. And and one thing I've also done is when I do hire the waiters from other companies for Yettis Kitchen, for catering events, on the contracts that I do put together before the event, I do actually write it in there that the waiting staff would have to wear the uniform that I provide. Obviously, I provide them in the uniform. It's just a waistcoat, so I tell all of them to arrive in a white t-shirt, men and women. I provide them with a waistcoat at the beginning of the event, and then at the end of the event, I get the waistcoats back from them, take it to the laundrette. It's washed nicely and ironed, and then I get it back and I use that again for the next catering event. So that's a heads up on another way to go around hiring staff for the day and getting catering jobs done on the cheap. And that way you don't have to worry about keeping staff permanently because you're hoping to get more catering jobs. You don't need to do that because that's a very expensive way to go about it. So I do hope, guys, that this audio snippet has been of great use to you, your business. If you do have any questions, by all means, let me know in the comments section and I'll be more than happy to answer them. If you do have any suggestions for topics that I should cover in the next series, do let me know and I'll be more than happy to address them. But in the meantime, if you think this video was useful, please click on the like button, click on the subscribe button, click on the bell by all means if you want to be notified of my next video. And lastly, remember to follow us on social media, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Clubhouse, everywhere really. Spotify, we're everywhere. So I'm Yettis Kitchen. I am Chef Yettis Kitchen. I'm Yettis Kitchen Chef. It's been a pleasure, guys. Take care.